and I had an extensive shark teeth collection, and I had a dead shark in a jar of formaldehyde. I was like, I don't think that's normal, but that's what I was like. And so my first thing I remember writing was, I said, I'm going to write a book about sharks, because I love to collect books about sharks. So one day, I opened all my shark books and copied all my favorite facts from the other books and wrote them down and stapled it together and said I wrote a book, and it was 100% plagiarized. But I was 7, so there's that. The first piece I wrote that was my own was probably 2nd grade, and it was about like a house that swallowed children as they walked by. It was really creepy, and you're probably starting to think that I was a creepy child, and you're right. But yeah, growing up, anytime anyone ever asked me, what do you want to be when you grow up, I always said I wanted to be a writer, until I was in about high school, and then it started to change a bit, and the question changes. You know, in high school, instead of what do you want to be when you grow up, it's what are you going to be in a few years, what are you going to major in, what's your life plan, and I started to feel kind of silly and naive saying writer. Like, I felt like that's, you know, a pipe dream. It's like saying, like, I want to be a Major League Baseball player or a rock star, and they're like, oh, that's great, good luck, kid, you know. So, and in addition to this creative side of me, I also have this stronger, louder side that's very realistic and pragmatic and a worrywart and total pessimist. So that side started to say things like, do you want to be poor your whole life? Don't you want to like eat and survive and like have a roof over your head? So I went to visit my guidance counselor in high school, and I told her, you know, my whole life I wanted to be a writer, but, you know, I also want some stability in my life. So she had me take one of those guidance tests where you like fill in the little bubbles and it sees what you're like qualified to be. And it said that I should be either a florist, which is funny because I have allergies, or a lawyer, or an accountant. And my guidance counselor sort of pushed me toward accounting because I was always strongest in math. So I went to one of those like career fairs and went up to the CPA booth and told him I might be interested. And he had one question. He said, do you ski? And I said, no. And he said, you can be an accountant. Apparently ski season is their biggest busy season. So I actually went to college as an accounting major. And after about a year of that, I was like, oh my God, accounting's terrible. No offense to accountants in the audience, my husband's in finance, so I can say that. But I thought, you know, there has to be a happy medium between like being creative and starving to death. So I sort of found that with marketing, and I got a bachelor's degree in marketing and went into the business world and went to school at night to get my master's degree, an MBA. I married that hot guy. Got a house, had the cutest baby in the world. Still, even after all that, it called to me. I wanted to be a writer. But, you know, the pessimist is like, don't do it, it's wasting your time. But finally I decided, all right, well, people out there have hobbies. You know, people garden, people scrapbook, people, what's that word? Cook. So I was like, I will write, and writing will be my hobby, and nothing's going to come from it. It's just creative outlet, that's it. So I started to write some short stories, and then I decided, you know, I'll try to write a book. Nothing's going to come from it, nothing's going to come from it. I just want to see if I can finish it. And I did. I finished the book, but it was crap. And like 100 New York City agents agreed with that assessment. But the good thing was I knew I could finish one, and I could learn from my mistakes and learn from all the big, huge pile of rejection letters, and, you know, perfect my craft and get better and better. So I wrote another book, which was half crap, and then I wrote another book, which I signed with my agent for, and I liked that one, but unfortunately it didn't sell to publishers. What I learned is, even if you have an agent, that doesn't mean you're going to get published. So at this point, the pessimist in me is like, come on, you are totally wasting your time. You've written 3 books now, and you should really just give this up and like learn to cook or get a better hobby. And I had a phone call with my parents, and I don't remember which one of them said this actual line, and they're probably going to fight to the death to lay claim to it now. But one of them said, well, publishing aside, do you still enjoy writing? And I said, well, yeah, I kind of do. And they said, well, then write another book. And then I wrote Clarity. And then I got a phone call from my agent, the book deal from Scholastic, and woo, and all that. So there's a happy ending to that story. And how I got the idea for Clarity is kind of funny and ironic, because I had, when I was an aspiring writer, I always loved reading author interviews. And in some of these interviews, authors would say things like, my characters' voices, I hear them in my head, and they speak to me, and I'm not writing it, I'm just taking dictation. And I always thought, like, that's not writing, that's schizophrenia. You get time I actually heard a character's voice in my head, and it was one line, so I'm only mildly crazy, was the line that inspired Clarity. And it was like a teenage girl, sort of a sarcastic, snarky voice, and she just said, "Oh, welcome to the freak show." And I knew she was talking about her family, and she was kind of embarrassed, so I decided to play the what if game. And I said, well, what if she is a member of a family of freaks, and what if they all have their own paranormal gifts? That's cool. And I said, well, what if they live in a tourist town, and they do psychic readings out of their home, and the tourists love them, but the townies kind of scorn them, and the main character doesn't have an easy time of it at school. She's bullied and all of that. And then what if someone in town is murdered, and they need the freak family's help? And I said, I like that. So I just played the what if game, and then Clarity was born. So that's how it came to be. And I decided to set it in Cape Cod, mainly because I knew, due to the nature of their family business, it would, work good in a tourist town. And I wanted a tourist town that was very seasonal in nature, not year-round like Florida or California. So I picked Cape Cod because I know it the best. And I decided to create the fictional town of Eastport, mainly so that I could have freedom to put whatever setting I wanted in there, because I know some people, when they're reading a story that takes place in a real place, and then they come across a setting that doesn't exist in that real place, they can get, Gail's nodding, they can get pulled out of the story. And some people go like bananas over this, like, my dad. So I said, I've witnessed this psychosis firsthand. I'm making up my own town, and then I can throw whatever I want in there. So the fun stuff is, locals may recognize some of the settings and say, I bet this was inspired by this, and some places are from completely different, like the boardwalk that plays a huge part in the book is actually the Weirs Beach Boardwalk in Laconia, New Hampshire, that is over Lake Winnipesaukee, not the ocean. So, but you find inspiration where you get it. So